All right, call to order the Beverages Licensing Authority hearing for Wednesday, October 16th, 2024 at 3 p.m.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen so I can share these rules of decorum. The city has engaged with community members to co-create a vision for productive, meaningful, and inclusive civic conversation. This vision supports physical and emotional safety for community members, staff, and board and commission members, as well as democracy for people of all ages, identities, lived experiences, and political perspectives. More about this vision and the project's community engagement process can be found on our website. The following are examples of rules of decorum found in the Boulder Revised Code and other guidelines that support this vision. These will be upheld during this meeting. All remarks and testimony shall be limited to matters related to city business. No participant shall make threats or use any form of intimidation against any person. Obscenity, racial epithets, and other speech and behavior that disrupts or otherwise impedes the ability to conduct the meeting are prohibited. Participants are required to sign up to speak using only the name they are commonly known by, and individuals must display their whole name before being allowed to speak online. Currently, only audio testimony for public comment is permitted. The chat function, or in this case, the Q&A function, should be used for technical questions to staff, and it should not be used for public comment. All right, next we have our roll call. If you will just speak your presence aloud. Chair Matt Califano.
Chair Califano present.
Thank you. Member Absalom is absent today. Member Carr.
Member Carr present.
Member Haggerty.
Member Haggerty present.
Member Roberts.
Member Roberts present.
Thank you so much. Next, we have approval of Beverage Licensing Authority minutes from September 18th, 2024.
Did anyone have any revisions, or is there a motion to approve?
Member Carr will make a motion to approve.
Member Roberts will second that motion to approve.
All in favor say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Carr. Member Carr, aye.
Member Haggerty, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
Thank you. Next, we have hearing agenda issues from licensing clerk. I just have one thing to bring up. I mistakenly scheduled Chicken on the Hill for a check-in, but they completed their 6 months of check-ins last month, so they will not be appearing this month. I apologize for not informing the board last month was their last check-in, but they did complete 6 months last month, so they will not be appearing. So we'll just skip past that one. And that is agenda item 5. And that is it for agenda issues. So I will move on to agenda item 2, matters from Boulder Police Department, and Officer Leah Racketsheeper.
Good afternoon. I'm Leah Rack, Boulder PD. I don't have a whole lot to report this month. We're up to 1,300 fake IDs that have been turned in to the police department. And I've issued a pretty big handful of second or subsequent fake ID tickets to some of the CU students and other individuals here in Boulder. But other than that, keeping busy with other calls for service at establishments.
Great, thank you so much. Are there any questions for Officer Reck from the board?
I do have one question for Officer Reck. Hey, Officer Reck, thanks for being here. Just wanted to ask if you're seeing any impacts from now that school is back in session and we're having CU games and everything. How are things going on your side? Just kind of curious on that end, if that's had an impact.
Are you talking about like how busy it is at the establishments?
Yeah, how busy it is, if you're seeing an increase of violations, or if there's anything we should be communicating to licensed establishments around maybe some, I don't know, additional fake IDs or other things that you're tending to see out there.
Definitely an increase in student activity. Most generally we get calls for service for the establishments up on the hill when there's a game day. So yeah, we've seen a pretty big increase, and still getting a lot of calls of, they mostly want to remain anonymous about seeing underagers inside establishments that are consuming alcohol. And our officers will try to follow up on those. Sometimes the people want to talk and sometimes they don't, but definitely an increase in activity with calls for service, some medical calls, some things like that happening, but for sure.
Thanks. Well, appreciate everything you do.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Not seeing any. All right, thanks again, Officer Eck.
Thank you. Next we have agenda item 3, matters from Responsible Association of Retailers. I am not seeing Nathan here. If he enters the meeting later, I will let you know. Just in case there's anyone else here from RAR, if so, go ahead and raise your hand and I'll let you in. Nope, I'm not seeing anyone. Next we have agenda item 4, general public comments for future beverage licensing authority hearing. If you are here to make public comment on something that is not included on the agenda, go ahead and raise your hand. Public comment on something that's not included. Okay, I have one hand raised. And I'll just ask the board, are you okay with a 3-minute timer for this public comment?
That would be great.
I'm just queuing up the timer here. Well, that's not right. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm going to share the timer and then I will allow our public commenter to speak. Okay. Dave, you are ready to go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, thank you for your time. I'm calling in reference to our last month's meeting. I sent each of you a letter. I was asked, the only response was to come back and voice my opinion here on this call. So here I am. I felt like that this group, the Embassy Suites, I know the Sage Hospitality Group, they're great operators, they're fine people, but that was a really, it wasn't equal in how that all went down. They lawyered up, they showed up and they kept arguing, which I didn't know was our option, to fight for a payment in lieu of closure. And I just want you all to realize the magnitude of what you do when you're closing. Restaurants and small businesses, but restaurants who have liquor licenses are fighting some real challenges here with labor increases and property tax increases and the closures that you deal out. I'm not sure how impactful you realize those are to these restaurants and these license holders. Closing for a day, it affects sales tax for the city. It affects revenues from that the servers make. It's a real impactful thing, and you can levy just as impactful fine to the restaurant owner and to the bartender, but just to throw out 1, 3, 5-day closures without any consistency doesn't make any sense. That hotel argued that they're a community center, that they do so much for the community. We were a 37-year-old restaurant that has never had a violation, and we had to close for a day. That's not equitable that this group, who's been in business for 5 years, who has very little connection to the community at the level that some of these local restaurants do, is allowed to not have to close. It is a Class 6 felony to use a fake ID. 12 to 18 month jail sentence, $1,000 to $100,000 fine with a year parole. I can call all day long and say I've got somebody down here using the fake ID, and it's great to hear officer earlier saying that they're collecting more IDs. But where is the prevention? Y'all act like you're smoke spotters sitting up in a spire waiting to see smoke. There's no mitigation. You're not preventing forest fires. You're not teaching people how to do work around fire mitigation. You just send in these gray-haired 20-year-old, 11-month and 3-week-old kids to come in and sting these restaurants, and then we pay the price. So I wish there was a little more work around intelligent alcohol consumption prevention with CU and with the group as a whole to make it feel a little more equitable.
Great. Thank you so much for that comment.
Thank you. Is the board ready to move on?
I believe so, yes.
We have agenda item 5, which I mentioned. Their last check-in was actually last month, so we will skip over that one. Now we're on to agenda item 6, which is the Lab Bar and Bites DBA Waffle Lab Boulder. 1155 13th Street, Boulder, Colorado 80302. Monthly status report to the BLA. If you are here to speak on this matter, go ahead and raise your hand. All right, Ashley, I see. Ashley, I'm going to promote you to panelist. And while they're being promoted and getting settled here, I will let the board know that this business is in good standing with occupation tax and sales tax this month.
Good to hear. How are things going?
Hi,
Hi, Ashley. How are things going? How has business been for you?
it's been good. Obviously, we've seen an uptick with the football games and things like that. Over the past month, we have confiscated 18 IDs. They vary in the way that we kind of find them. Sometimes it's the classic thing like the corners peeling up. You can clearly see that it's, poorly made. Other times it's us asking questions like, how old are you? Because what we found is people are generally good at memorizing the stuff on the ID, but they're not really good at figuring out like how old they're supposed to be. So just asking them how old they are, of what it's supposed to be on the ID trips them up a lot, which I know it sounds kind of silly, but it's one that actually does kind of get things often. As well as the zip code, because that's just a little bit harder for people to memorize, I guess. That there have been a few expired. There's been a few with just mismatched photos. It's clearly not them. On that same kind of train, we've reached out to Nathan at RAR to start utilizing them to do some of the kind of like internal compliance checks. I know he's still working on getting that program off the ground, but we are on the list of people that want to use it once it gets going. So hopefully that will be soon. We've also implemented a new thing just in the last week to charge a small cover charge of $5. And we're not allowing it to be cash, only credit. So one, that enables us to check that the ID that they give us actually matches the credit card, the name on it. Which is kind of just, an extra little layer, obviously, that people can get around that. People can get around anything, but we're finding that at least it, one, deters some people. Also, obviously helps a little bit with just people that don't want to pay the cover. It's $5, but some people don't want to pay it. So it kind of helps from a capacity standpoint as well. So we have paid our fine from last month as well. I paid it this morning, so I don't know if that's something, but yeah, that's been kind of how things are going right now.
Great. Thank you so much. Those are some definite creative ways to check. Thank you for taking this seriously and going through that process. Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. Does the board have any other comments?
I just want to make a comment that really happy to hear the status report. Thank you for sharing the detail and level of detail. And it's clear that you've taken it really seriously, the feedback that we provided with you last month. And really appreciate that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Officer Rec, did you have anything you wanted to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to give Ashley a heads up that probably 99% of the IDs I get are actually, the names are the people who they are. I mean, they're their names. They're legitimately their names. And then
We understand. Sorry.
okay. Secondly, the IDs need to be turned into me. They're supposed to be turned in within 72 hours for the rule. But, you know, I'm not holding you to that. But if you could get those to me on a pretty quick basis, just so we can get those processed.
Yeah, I will double check, but I thought that our assistant manager Connor was doing them weekly, but I will double check that that's still happening. I know when we met a while ago, yeah, you had said that, you know, a week or two is okay. So I will just double check to make sure that he's getting those turned in quickly.
Okay. We also had a stack turned in on Friday with no information on them. So if those are yours, I'm not sure. Maybe you guys
Okay. Maybe I'll double check. I know he knows that we're supposed to put our information. We ran out of stickers, but we've told him just to write down the, you know, our name and all of that. But I will double check with him to make sure it's all being done correctly.
Great. Anything else for Ashley from the board? No, well, thank you so much for the report.
Thank you. Have a good day, guys.
Thank you. Give me 1 second. Okay, now we are moving on to agenda item 7, show cause hearing concerning an alleged violation and whether the tavern type liquor license held by No Risket No Biscuit LLC DBA Spotted James, 1911 11th Street, Unit 100, Boulder, Colorado 80302 should be suspended or revoked. If you are here to speak on this matter, please go ahead and raise your hand and I will let you in. And I have one raised hand here. While this person is getting settled, I will let the board know that this licensee is in good standing with sales tax and occupation tax. And they do have a signed stipulation, and Mia Keller is here from the city attorney's office.
Thank you, Ms. Kellogg. That's essentially all I was going to say is that we have reached a stipulation in this matter. The BLA should have it, so we would move for the BLA to accept that stipulation at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Keller. Is there a motion to accept the stipulation? Member Califano would move to accept.
Member Carr will second the motion to accept.
All in favor say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Carr, aye.
Member Haggerty, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
Thank you so much. And I believe this licensee is represented by an attorney. If you will just record your appearance and then let me know who, if anyone will be testifying today so I can swear them in.
So my name is Thomas Dunn. I'm an attorney with Dill Carr, Stonebreaker and Hutchings, and I represent No Risket No Biscuit, doing business Spotted James. With me is the owner, James Shiraga, who goes by Jimmy, who is in the blue shirt in our video, and his general manager, Anthony Madrid, is also present. My plan is to present the mitigation myself as much as I can, but I do want both of them sworn in case there's any necessity for asking them questions or you have any questions for them.
No problem. I will start with James. If you'll just say your name, spell your name, and give your address for the record.
Excuse me. My name is James Shiraga. Last name is S-H-V as in Victor, I-R-A-G-A. Address is 2097 South 104th Street, Broomfield 80020.
Thank you so much, and I'll swear you in at both at the same time. And then Anthony, if you'll do the same, say your name, spell your name, and give your address for the record.
Yes, it's Anthony Madrid. Last name is Madrid. My address is 4726 Main Street, Denver, Colorado, 80211.
Thank you so much. And if you'll both raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in the matter before the Beverage Licensing Authority is true?
I do.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, and since you're represented by counsel, I would ask if you'd be willing to waive the reading of the procedures into the record.
We will waive that.
Great. And is there any conflict of interest or ex parte communication from any of the board members? Member Califano, no?
Member Carr, no.
Member Haggerty, no.
Member Roberts, no.
All right, great. Well, you may proceed.
Thank you. We appreciate you taking the time to listen to our mitigation and evidence in this case. I can tell you that the No Risk and No Biscuit, they've had this liquor license since 2020, and we've never been in front of a licensing authority for any violation of any sort. Jimmy Sharaga comes from a long career in the restaurant liquor industry, for years running major operations in the city of Denver before heading up to the Boulder area. He also runs a place in Lafayette, is that right?
Correct.
Called Dillinger's. And again, no prior liquor violations whatsoever. I think you can see from the exhibits that we have provided to the authority, the diligence in which Mr. Sharaga and Mr. Madrid have taken in terms of operating the Spotted James. Everyone has been tip certified. They have recently been retrained, as seen in the exhibits and the documents that we have provided as exhibits under exhibits 1A and 1B, which we provided you. One slight clarification there in case you have any questions. We did list on the proof of training document that the county wanted us, or excuse me, the authority wanted us to fill out, a person by the name of Ara Frederick. She actually recently was divorced, and her last name is Hornstra, Hoornstra. The reason I mention that is that the certification document is under that name as opposed to the Frederick name that is on the listing that we provided you. One other clarification on that is that at the time that we filed our exhibits pre-hearing, 9 days before the hearing, as required by your rules, we did have a document reflecting that the training of our staff by the what's the name, ServSafe organization, that we had 11 people being trained, and we filed an email showing the names of those individuals. We only received, as of last, what was the date that we received those?
Last Friday, the 11th.
Last Friday, October the 11th, the actual certificates from ServSafe. So we sent those up yesterday to the authority to supplement our exhibits under 1B. I don't know if you have received or had the opportunity to look at those, but again, those named individuals in that email under 1B, again, we have the completed certificates. So going back to this violation itself, Brianna Rowe was our bartender. She has been an employee for, I think, 3 years for us, an exemplary employee, works really hard, very diligent. There's no legitimate explanation for why she went through the brain dead moment of looking at a verdict, because she asked for the ID, which is our policy, and then just kind of went brain dead in terms of the calculation of the how old this individual was. And that was a complete violation of everything she's been taught by us. She was incredibly remorseful. I've spoken to her myself. I mean, it's the type of thing where she's in tears in terms of accepting her responsibility here. And and she was dealt with appropriately, I think, by Jimmy in terms of the discipline under exhibit 8 that we filed with you. It shows the notification to her of the penalty that the employee sanctioned, and where we suspended her for 4 weeks. And that took place immediately after this violation. And of course that hurt her tremendously in terms of the loss of income that she experienced. But that was appropriate. We did not fire her because she has been such a good employee, and because she did express remorse, and because she has been a long-standing good employee of ours. Of course, if she ever did this again, there's no question that she would be terminated. Our offense took place on May the 30th, a Thursday. My client through Tony Madrid, the GM who's present, had a staff meeting that Saturday night with everybody about the seriousness of this violation and how the employees would be terminated if anything like this ever happened again. So we took an immediate response that was clearly felt by all of our employees about the seriousness of this violation. We indicated to them that they would all have to undergo retraining under TIPS. Again, we have provided all that documentation to you through the TIPS program, as well as the ServSafe in regards to the retraining. Some of that took place on June the 9th. That was through the TIPS. That's when Brianna Rowe went through it, and a couple of the other employees, to include, as he always does, Tony Madrid, our general manager. And then most of the employees after that were retrained on September the 22nd through the the ServSafe program. So again, immediate consequential steps for all our employees. We've also provided for you the agreements that have been signed by both our bartending staff and our door personnel staff in terms of their obligations and our policies in regards to making sure that we never serve anyone who's underage. And I think it's important for you to know, we don't let people that are under 21 into our establishment. Typically, IDs are checked at the door. That's done on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights. Is it Sunday as well at the door? And the door people come on approximately 8 o'clock at night, and they are there until closing at 2, and they're checking IDs at the door. We have given you photographs of some of that, of what that looks like at our door. That's under Exhibit 6. They even implement and utilize on every ID check the use of a black light to illuminate images that otherwise would not be seen in an attempt to detect fake IDs and make sure that they're valid. We never accept in any way expired identification in doing this. So we have taken very strong steps to ensure that no minors are in there and that no minor is ever allowed to be served alcohol. Obviously, we screwed up in this instance. We feel very badly about it. I can tell you that the owner, Jimmy, has had a lot of angst over the fact that this even took place. I mean, I can tell you there's a certain shame piece I have felt from him in putting this package together for your mitigation. And it's very clear to me that they have taken, I think, very strong and dramatic steps to make sure it won't happen again. The other thing, one of the other things that we've done since this violation, and again, it's reflected in exhibits that we have provided you under Exhibit 5. We have retained the services of the BARS program, which I'm sure you're probably familiar with. It's a secret shopper type of program in which the BARS program sends in people to make sure that IDs are being checked. And if they are not checked by an employee, then the employees have been notified that they will be terminated in our own self-monitoring through the BARS program. So that's again an additional step that we have taken. You have also copies under the Exhibit 3, which is the Spotted James bartender agreement. You can see that there are different dates of signature on those. These have been long-standing. Some of these signatures were made in 2021, some as late as 2024. But this was something that was in place at the time of this violation. So there are written policies, an acknowledgement of each employee of this, and that they are subject to termination if they violate this agreement. Obviously, in terms of the alcohol laws, the very important part of this is never serve a minor, don't allow minors into our establishment, never serve a visibly intoxicated individual, never allow a visibly intoxicated individual into our establishment. And if they become visibly intoxicated, they are cut off and they have to leave our premises in a responsible fashion where we attempt to make sure they have an Uber ride or a sober friend that can drive them home, etc. So that has always been a long-standing, strong policy of our establishment, as well as the never serve a minor. So we have both. I've given you both the Spotted James bartender agreement under Exhibit 2, and then under Exhibit 3 are our vertical ID policy document that each employee has signed that's involved with the service of alcohol. And under Exhibit 4, the door personnel agreements that our security are signing. So we have security both at the door, we have security on our premises that are circulating at all times from 8 till 2 in the morning on nights of Thursday through Sunday. So we're taking our responsibilities very seriously. The vertical ID policy, let me speak to that briefly, because I think I don't know if you have questions on that or not, but we have specifically asked for each employee to sign our written policy on this because we do not have a policy of not accepting vertical IDs. And the reason for that, some places do require that. I have clients in the city of Denver where they won't take any vertical IDs, but in the environment that we're in Boulder, that is really problematic in terms of financial impact on our business. And this has been researched very thoroughly by Jimmy, because when he first took this over back in 2020, initially he had a no vertical ID policy because he came from the community in Denver where that was more readily implemented. But they determined that, and if you have any questions about this, you can ask questions of Mr. Shiraga, or and he can explain this a bit more. But in evaluating this, he actually kept track of how many customers they would lose if they turned away one person who had a vertical ID. They usually, often these kids are in, a group of people. So if one gets turned down, 6 to 9 people might leave. And even though it was a valid ID, they weren't allowed in. And my client figured out that this could cost upwards of almost $250,000 in sales, calculated at $18 a person over a year, if this number of people were to leave. And he kind of tracked how many people would leave. And the other thing on this, and the Colorado IDs themselves, expire very quickly after a person turns 21. I think it's 20 days. But in other states, that's not true. And of course, CU being a good university, proud alum right here, they have kids from out of state, of course. Texas and California's vertical IDs can last until a person is 25 years old. So if we didn't accept vertical IDs in those instances, we have these people leaving that they wouldn't have new IDs immediately. So that complicates the picture as well. So bottom line on this, they have a specific vertical ID policy of saying they have to take extra special care in checking vertical IDs to make sure the person is of age and over the age of 21. And all our employees sign that, acknowledge it. So that may be a long-winded explanation on that, but I wanted to make that you aware of that. Exhibit 6 again is photographs of our security staff showing that we don't let anyone under 21. We have this under Exhibit 7, the ID checking guide for out-of-state IDs. Our door personnel are trained to look at those and refer to that checking guide, which is not uncommon again in Boulder because of out-of-state students. Exhibit 8 is the written suspension and consequence to our employee. One last thing I want to mention is Exhibit 9. In July, specifically on July 26th of this year, the state Department of Revenue, liquor licensing, they ran a sting operation at our place, and we successfully passed that, where we checked the ID and refused service. So again, I think that demonstrates that of our compliance with the liquor laws and how integral that is to us. Exhibit 10, and this is premature, but I have filed 90 days of alcohol sales records, which I'd like to speak to after we have some discussion of the potential penalty to be imposed here. And if there is any active suspension, we would like to pay a fine in lieu, but I think that's premature at this point. Should I speak to at this point what I'm requesting in terms of what I'd like to see as a penalty for my client?
Are you talking in terms of days served or fine in lieu?
Both.
I would wait till after we deliberate, for the
Okay.
fine in lieu. You're
Okay.
welcome to say what you think we should do for a, penalty, but ultimately it will be our decision.
Of course, and I'll speak to that then in a moment then. So I think that really covers the mitigation I'd like to present. I'd ask that our exhibits be admitted into evidence. Our exhibits are numbered 1 through 10. And I'm here to answer any other questions, or if you have any questions for my client, of course, they are here to testify and tell you the truth.
Thank you for that. Are there any questions from the board? I just have one quick one. So how do you prevent individuals from coming into your establishment before you have a doorman that are under 21?
So there is no prohibition on an under 21 individual coming in before 8 o'clock when our security is there. And my client can correct me, but when someone asks to be served any alcohol at that point in time, an ID is requested. And if they are under 21, they are told they are not allowed to be present. We do have a sign on our front door that says no one under 21 is allowed to be present. But in terms of that enforcement and before the security people are there, that's primarily how it's done. Is that an accurate statement?
That is correct.
So then I think a more accurate statement would be individuals are not allowed in the establishment after 8 p.m. when there is a doorman. However, they have the ability to bypass that sign when coming in before the doorman is there. However, they would be ID'd when they tried to order an alcoholic beverage.
And I think that is a more accurate statement. And the only thing I would supplement on that is that they would then be told they have to leave at that point in time as well.
Great, thank you for that. Any other questions?
Excuse me. As a follow-up on that question, I see in the exhibits that your doormen have like a black light so they can check the validity of the IDs. It appears there's also an ID checking guide. How are those only used by the doormen, security, or do bartenders also use them and have access to those things?
I asked my client to answer that question.
Bartenders have access to them, and use as needed would be the best way to describe it before 8 p.m. They do have access to them, and yes, if they needed them, they would use them.
So it would be fair to say, like, if they had concerns about an ID, that the best practice would be for them to look at that ID checking guide or use a black light to double check the validity of it.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Not seeing any. All right, is there anything else you wanted to present to us before we close for deliberation?
Should I talk about penalty now or should I wait? I want to talk about penalty separate and apart from fine in lieu. So should I address that now?
Yes, you can voice that.
Thank you. I have had the opportunity to review your guidelines, as well as your mitigation and aggravation factors as set up by the licensing authority. And I also know that the guideline penalty for our license, as I understand and reading it, is 3 days of active suspension and 6 days held in abeyance. And I'm requesting that in view of everything that my client has done for years, and the additional steps that he has taken through the BARS program, meetings with employees, the retraining of all employees since then, that the mitigation, I think, far outweighs any aggravation in this case. And that therefore the guidelines, I would ask that there be no active suspension whatsoever, and that the authority impose a penalty only of the 6 days held in abeyance for our violation.
Great, thank you for that. Is there anything else you'd like to present?
No.
All right, at this point, we will close for deliberation. Is there a motion?
I would just like to say, like, I've seen, I like the mitigating factors. I like how these exhibits were presented to us. I think there is a lot to see, a lot of good here, that to see around the policies, around the programs.
Well, let's go ahead and make a motion first, and then we can have
Oh.
a discussion.
Okay. Yeah, so I will make a motion, Member Carl will make a motion for, given the mitigating circumstances, for 1 day served, and I'd like to see 8 days held in abeyance.
Member Califano agrees and would second that motion based on the amount of mitigating evidence. I do agree that there was not any aggravating factors. They took responsibility. But given the request for no days served, this license is fairly young. It is under 5 years old. So that would be that's why I would second this. So we have a first and a second. All in favor say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Carr, aye.
Member Haggerty, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
Okay, and then I believe this would be the time, if you're asking for a fine in lieu, for us to consider that.
Thank you. I have submitted under Exhibit 10 our alcohol sales records for the last 3 months ending in September. And my review of those records shows that over those 92 days that those records reflect that the average daily gross proceeds from the sale of alcohol is $3,813. And that 20% of that is $762.71. And I'm asking that you allow us to pay a fine in lieu of the 1 day of active suspension. Again, as I see it, being justified by the strong and excellent mitigation that my client has always taken. Again, with his own enforcement through the BARS program and otherwise, with making sure that no minors are served.
All right, so at this time, we will consider the fine in lieu request. Member Califano would not be in favor of that. We typically only grant fine in lieus under extenuating extreme circumstances. But how does the rest of the board feel?
Yes, Member Carr, I concur with that opinion. I don't see any specific reason why we should grant a fine in lieu in this certain situation. I don't like to set that precedent as a typical outcome as well.
Yeah, this is Member Haggerty. Yeah, I agree with both the earlier statements. It's a tricky thing with precedent there, and I think we've kind of established as a board. So I concur with both of you.
Could I address the day of closure, the actual suspension, the date for that?
We're still considering the fine in lieu. We haven't voted on
I'm
it.
sorry, I'm sorry.
Member Roberts, did you have anything?
Just in general, I'm definitely feeling feedback from our city partners, and I'm not feeling as strongly, but I think that you bring up a very good point, Chair Califano, that this is a very young license, and so I do agree with you guys for this case.
And I probably should have made a motion first before we discussed, but I would make a motion to not grant the fine in lieu. Is there a second?
Member Carr will second that motion to not grant fine in lieu.
All in favor say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Carr, aye.
Member Haggerty, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
So fine in lieu request has been denied. At this point, we need to determine days served. Now, you had a request for days served. And what was that?
We would request that we are open for business 7 days a week. So this is a regular day of business. We would request that 1 day of suspension be on Monday, October the 21st.
Oddly enough, that's typically when we do them. So
Well,
I
yeah.
I would be okay with that. How does the rest of the board feel?
Yeah, that sounds fine to me, as long as that's enough time for Caitlin and the team to get that turned around. Perfect.
All right, so Monday the 21st will be the day served. Yeah.
I'm on Sunday.
Does that, and when we do, can I ask for a point of clarification on that?
Yes.
So we're normally open on Sunday and we're normally open until 2 a.m. Does the closure suspension start at 2 a.m.?
Caitlin, I would defer to you. I believe it starts at midnight, correct?
Correct.
Midnight,
Midnight.
Monday to 11:59.
Yeah, do you still want to do it then?
I'm fine with it. Okay, that's really.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. That is, I don't need to speak further to that issue.
And city licensing will prepare the suspension posters tomorrow, and they will be available for pickup anytime before the time of suspension. So you want to make sure they're posted before the time of suspension.
Okay,
What time tomorrow?
what time tomorrow can we come by to get those?
After 12 p.m.
Okay.
And I'll
Right.
send you an email.
When do they
Okay.
need to be posted?
You need one inside and one outside. Do you have 2 signs, by the way?
Yes, 2 sides.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much, folks. Thanks for your kind attention through this hearing. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to make sure that everyone is in the right room. Okay. Next we have agenda item 8, show cause hearing concerning an alleged violation and whether lodging and entertainment type liquor license held by Century Theaters Inc. DBA Century 16, 1700 29th Street, Boulder, Colorado 80381 should be suspended or revoked. If you are here to speak on this matter, please go ahead and raise your hand and I will let you in. I see that Mr. Prophet is here and a few others. And while everyone is getting settled, I will let the board know that there is a stipulation in this case, and Mia is also available. And they are in good standing with occupation tax and sales tax.
Thank you. I would like to let the board know that we have reached a stipulation in this matter, so I would move for the board to accept that stipulation at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Keller. Is there a motion to accept the stipulation? Member Califano would make a motion to accept.
Member Roberts will second the motion to accept the stipulation.
All in favor say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
Member Haggerty, aye.
I
Think
think,
we may have lost Member Carr.
yeah, I think that's what happened there. That is okay because 3 is still a quorum. Oh. He might be back. Member Carr, it looked like we might have lost you for a second.
Yeah, my Wi-Fi went out here for a moment. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. Did you hear that they were on the vote to accept the stipulation for agenda item 8? Did you want to vote?
I did not hear that, but I'm aware of a stipulation agreement in place, and I say aye for accepting that agreement.
Thank you. Okay, and then Mr. Prophet, I see that you are here. If you'll just record your appearance and then just let me know who you would like to have sworn in for this matter.
Excellent. Thank you. Brian Prophet, registration number 31101 on behalf of the Century Theaters Incorporated, doing business as Century 16. I have 2 witnesses who are logged in, including Ms. Kayla Lizuski. I hope I said that correctly. She is our general manager. And then Mr. Matt Dunn, our Senior Director of Food and Beverage. Although Mr. Dunn may simply be logging in to observe. I'm not sure if he plans to participate.
Thank you. All right, and Kayla, if you will just say your name and spell your name and give your address for the record.
Yeah, my name's Kayla Lashevsky. It's Lizewski, and my address is 1231 West Byers Place, Denver, Colorado 80223.
Thank you. And Mr. Dunn, if you will do the same if you're planning on giving testimony. If not, we don't need to swear you in. And you are muted.
Sorry, technology. My name is Matt Dunn, D-U-N-N-E. My address is 1092 Onwentia, O-N-W-E-N-T-S-I-A Court in Naperville, Illinois, 60563.
Thank you so much. And if you'll both just raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before the Beverage Licensing Authority is true?
Yes.
I do.
Thank you.
And Mr. Prophet, I apologize if you've already recorded your appearance here, but if not, can you record it?
I did, but I'm happy to do it once again. Brian Prophet, 31101 on behalf of the licensee.
Great, thank you so much. Appreciate that. And since you're present here, are you willing to waive the reading of the procedures into the record?
We would so waive.
Great. And is there any conflict of interest or ex parte communication from any of the board members? Member Califano, no?
Member Carr, no.
Member Haggerty, no.
Member Roberts, no.
All right, Mr. Prophet, you may proceed.
Thank you, Chairman Califano and members of the authority. Good afternoon. Briefly, the facts of this situation are fairly straightforward. There was a sting operation at our location. Our bartender, who helped the operative, asked for identification, and then instead of following his training and using our point of sale system, which is required of every alcohol sale, he simply looked at the identification and completed the sale. For that, our employee was initially and immediately suspended from work and later terminated as a result of his failure to follow our training as well as policies and procedures. Briefly, I would like to discuss those policies, procedures, all of which you'll find in the mitigation materials. As part of our mitigation, we have provided our proof of training certificates for all of our staff at the Century 16. But I think most importantly, for purposes of this afternoon's hearing, we utilize an in-house proprietary training program for our staff. It's shortened to the acronym of DOCCS, D-O-C-C-S. This method stands for dialogue, observe, check, choose, and then sell, but only after the D, the O, the C, and the initial C are followed. These materials are an online training and testing. However, we have included a series of screenshots for you. What it fails to provide to you, unfortunately, is the video, voiceover, and interactive training and testing elements of our training program. Anyone who is involved in the sale of service of alcohol is required to take this training program before they are initially allowed behind the bar or at any other area where alcohol sale and service might take place. After the training, they then go through a period of shadowing an existing team member. And in this instance, this gentleman, I believe that he was hired in about November prior to this event, which took place in May, and had been through our training. Now, we've also included a number of written policies for you, but our policies are quite clear. Anyone who asks for an alcoholic beverage, you have to ask for their identification. Doesn't matter if they are 21 years old or 121 years old. You ask for that identification, and it is required to be run through our point of sale system. And we've also included some information regarding our point of sale system scanner, which should make this situation infallible. Our scanner system, you take the identification, and it doesn't matter whether it's from Colorado or any other state in the country, or even some Canadian and Mexican provinces, is my understanding. You scan the identification, and it will come up showing you very clearly on the screen, red, not to sell, or green, you may conduct the sale. Our problem here and the downfall of this particular individual was that he failed to scan the identification. And again, for that, he was let go. But our written policies do require asking for that identification and using that point of sale system. Now, we've also included some supervision procedures for alcohol sale and service within our theaters. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through that today, as that wasn't an issue here. And we actually spent a fair bit of time with this authority a number of years ago when we initially were awarded this license regarding those supervision procedures. But we did include it amongst our mitigation materials for you so that you can see that we take the sale and service of alcohol importantly at our location. Now, a couple of other items that I wanted to mention from our mitigation packet has to do with our community involvement. I won't go into that in a great deal, but I do encourage you to take a look at the cover letter that I provided with our mitigation materials regarding things that we put on at the theater, including even late next week for members of the community within our theaters. And lastly, and I feel that this was necessary, this young gentleman, our employee who engaged in the sale, when asked by the liquor enforcement officer if he had taken, quote, tips training, indicated that he was scheduled to take it the following week. That was true. However, the following week's training was a retraining for this individual. He was properly certified at the time of this particular enforcement operation. And so I didn't want that to make it appear that he had not been trained. He both had been trained with our internal training program as well as a state-approved training program. He was scheduled for retraining only the following either week or week following. So I thought that was something that I wanted to point out. With all of that said, the Century 16 Theater has been a Boulder business since 2007. Now, we haven't had a liquor license for that long. We've had it since 2017, but this is the first time there's ever been an issue at our theater. And for those reasons, we do hope that you would take a look at this mitigation and as well as the circumstances here where our employee simply and utterly ignored his training, did not utilize the tools that have been placed there to make this, I hate to say it, but dummy proof. He absolutely didn't use the machine, and that was the issue here. And for that, he lost his job with us. And so we hope you look at these mitigation materials and choose a lesser suspension from those guidelines set forth. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prophet. Are there any questions for Mr. Prophet or Mr. Dunn from the board? Or I'm not going to attempt to pronounce your
I'll
last
try
name.
it because I butchered it earlier. Lashevsky, Kayla, did I say that right that time?
Yeah.
I did have one question. The scanning system, is that so that's not like a requirement of selling a beverage, like it's a requirement in your process, but someone has the ability to go and serve an alcoholic beverage without inputting like a birth date into the register or something of that nature. I just want to clarify.
Yes, that is correct. Within our system, we have a proprietary POS system, so it's not your standard off the rack. We are in the process of integrating the scanner system into the POS system itself, but the scanner system currently is a separate entity and is operating separate from that register.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Not seeing any. All right, Mr. Prophet, is there anything you wanted to present before we close for deliberation?
Nothing further beyond the mitigation statements we've made, as well as the cover letter and packet that we hope you consider.
Great, thank you. All right, at this point, we will close for deliberation. Is there a motion? Member Califano would make a motion for 1 day served with I would say 10 days held in abeyance. And the reasoning behind that motion would just be, I do agree that there's a lot of mitigating factors here. It does sound like a very rare mistake that they have put in place. They have in place systems that should prevent this. But yeah, I would make that motion.
Member Carr would second that motion, given the factors that they do have in place. Also, they have a lot of mitigating factors that I want to recognize.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Carr, aye.
Member Haggerty, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
Okay, and now we need to determine days served. Caitlin, with this
Chairman
Monday,
Califano,
yes.
if I may, at this time, I think it appropriate. We would like to make a petition to serve that day as a fine in lieu. We have sales records for a period of 93 days, I believe it is, which we can provide. I have them with me, but obviously, now that we're doing these virtually, we would have to provide them to the authority at a later time. But we believe that we do satisfy the requirements for a petition to handle this as a fine in lieu. And for all of the reasons that you've already considered for purposes of our suspension, we would request that ability.
Member Califano would make a motion to not grant the fine in lieu based on, as we have previously said, we only do those in extreme circumstances. And I don't believe that this meets that area, but that would be my motion.
Member Carr will second that motion.
Okay, all in favor say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Carr, aye.
Member Haggerty, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
All right, the fine in lieu has been denied. As far as days served, Caitlin, this can be all ready by Monday.
Yes.
All right, so that would be a motion for Monday, the 21st of October to be served. Is there a second to that motion?
Member Carr will second.
All in favor, say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Carr, aye.
Member Haggerty, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
All right, so fine, day of suspension to be served on Monday, October 21st. Thank you, Mr. Prophet.
Thank you, Chairman Califano and members of the authority. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you. And then I will prepare suspension posters and send an email, and they will be ready after 12 p.m. tomorrow, and they can be picked up anytime before the time of suspension.
We'll look for that. Thank you, Ms. Kellogg.
Yes. And just give me a second. I'm just gonna get everyone to where they belong. Okay. Next, we have agenda item 9, public hearing and consideration of an application filed on August 2nd, 2024 from KMG Incorporated DBA Scrooge Soul, 1149 13th Street, Boulder, Colorado, 80302. Min Kyu Kim, 100% owner of KMG Incorporated and registered manager with the business mailing address of 1378 Marigold Court, Lafayette, Colorado, 80026 for a new hotel restaurant type liquor license. If you are here to speak on this matter, please go ahead and raise your hand. See that Miss Johnson is here. Again, if you're here to speak on this matter, go ahead and raise your hand. The raise hand function is at the bottom of your screen. I'm not seeing any other hands.
I think they may be on their phones. I'm not positive, but I think they may be.
I don't see any numbers have called in either.
Charles just called me. They just called me and wanted to know where they were on the hearing, and they said they were next.
Okay. Once again, if you're here to speak on the matter for Scrooge Soul, please go ahead and raise your hand. So I know that you're here.
I'll try to call them real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, they're waiting for you.
Right, but I don't know why they're not here.
You have, you have to hit the little hand down at the bottom of the screen. If you, there's a little hand. That'll let them know you're
There
here.
we go.
Okay. Goodbye.
Thank you so much, Carol.
No problem.
Okay, and then there. Oh, it's going to ask you a question and you'll want to accept that. Let's see.
I should have stayed on.
That's okay. So, Mr. Lee, I'm asking if you'll want to be promoted to a panelist. You'll go ahead and accept that so that we can have your video turned on. There we go. Maybe. Okay, here we go. And they are rejoining as a panelist. Hopefully. Okay, perfect. Mr. Lee, are you able to turn your camera on?
Okay, wow.
Maybe they're just getting settled. Okay. Good afternoon.
Can you hear? Oh, hello.
We can hear you.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm just gonna go ahead and ask, Mr. Kim, are you gonna be represented by an attorney today?
No, I do by myself. Just
Okay.
this is Charles. I have Mr. Kim. I'm just here just in case he needs some help with his English.
Okay. So are you going to be interpreting for him today?
Yes, but just if he needs. He could speak
Okay.
English very well. Just in
That's
case.
okay. So if you're interpreting, I'm gonna go ahead and swear you in as an interpreter, just in case you need to use that.
Right.
And can you tell me what language you'll be interpreting into?
Korean and English.
Thank you. Okay, if you will just go ahead and say your name and spell your name for the record really quickly.
My name is Charles Lee, Cheol, last name Lee, Lee.
Thank you. And do you swear or affirm that you will make an accurate, complete, and impartial interpretation from the English language into Korean and vice versa of all communication during the proceeding using your best skill, judgment, and ability?
I do.
Thank you. And then, Mr. Kim, if you will now say your name and spell your name for the record.
My name is Min-Kyu Kim, Minkyu, and last name is Kim.
Thank you. And will you give an address, please?
My address is 1378 Marywood Court, Lafayette, Colorado 80026.
Thank you. And if you will raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter before the Beverage Licensing Authority is true?
I swear.
Thank you. And Ms. Johnson, same thing. If you will say your name and spell your name for the record.
Well, Johnson for Liquor Pro, CAROL, JOHNSON, 10200 Park Meadows Drive, apartment 1714, Littleton, Colorado 80124.
Thank you so much. And do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in the matter before the Beverage Licensing Authority is true?
Yes, I do.
And do you also swear or affirm that you or your employees have posted the premise for at least 10 days prior to today's hearing?
And I'm not aware of whether they did it themselves or whether we did it.
Okay. Mr. Kim?
Yes.
Do you swear or affirm that the premise has been posted for 10 days prior to today's hearing? The poster was posted?
Yes. One moment, please. Can you speak one more time, please?
Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Do you swear or affirm that the poster was posted for 10 days prior to today's hearing?
네, 했습니다.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry, was that yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Roberto has unmuted.
BLA. A question that I have that we're going to need to take a recess for is whether when using an interpreter for these proceedings, whether that interpreter needs to be a certified interpreter. I can tell you that pursuant to Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Language access to the courts does in fact require a certified interpreter. I do not know off the top of my head, however, if that applies to administrative boards in Colorado. I'd like to do a little bit of research, and then so if we can please get a quick recess, allow me to do some research, and then I can come back on and let you know if we can proceed or if we need to reset the matter.
Okay, also, before you do that, sir, this is Charles Lee, the interpreter speaking. I have been a certified court interpreter for Colorado court, and also I've been a professional Korean language interpreter.
Sir, are you currently certified as an interpreter?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
by the
okay. Okay, well, then that answers that. Thank you so much. I apologize for the interruption. Please continue.
Thank you.
All right, so I think we've got everyone sworn in at this point. Since you're not represented by counsel, I'm gonna go ahead and read the proceedings of the hearing into the record. One sec here. All right. This is a public hearing before the Beverage Licensing Authority of the City of Boulder to determine whether or not the application of KMG Incorporated doing business as Scrooge Soul for a new hotel restaurant type liquor license shall be granted or denied. This hearing is conducted pursuant to the laws of the state of Colorado and the rules of the Beverage Licensing Authority of the City of Boulder. The purpose of this hearing is to receive information, data, and testimony by interested parties in order to enable this authority to make the findings and to reach the conclusions required to be made by state law as to whether or not the license applied for shall issue. Interested parties are the applicant, residents of the neighborhood under consideration, and the owners and managers of a business located in the neighborhood under consideration. For purposes of determining who is an interested party at this hearing, the neighborhood under consideration is the neighborhood previously defined by the authority. The authority shall make a final determination of the affected neighborhood prior to determining whether the license shall be issued. Any interested party may speak to the question of neighborhood designation as well as other information relevant to the granting or denial of the application. A record is being made of these proceedings. Those who desire to be heard shall identify themselves by stating their name, spelling their last name, and stating their pertinent address. They shall also be sworn in by the board secretary. Is there any conflict of interest or ex parte communication from any of the board members? Member Califano, no.
Member Carr, no.
Member Haggerty, no.
Member Roberts, no.
Great. And is there anyone here in the attendees that wishes to speak to this agenda item? If you could raise your hand. Not seeing any. All right, you may proceed in terms of what you plan to do.
어떤 계획을 할 건지 말씀해 주세요.
네. Yeah, I'm going to open a Korean and Japanese style sake bar on the hill. So just for food, going to plan to sell Korean, Japanese street food. The example is yakitori and takoyaki, also kind of okonomiyaki. Some, all lots of places on the American life in the border area. So just I want to change to the little bit to the Asian, Korean, Japanese type. I also have a restaurant 10 years next door. Name is Scrooge Market of the almost 10 years. So I know this market very well, and I know what's going on in this town, and also I know what happened at this location. So I can tell you guys, I do my best, and I promise I'm never going to make any what previous things did before.
Okay, thank you for that. Can you talk a little bit more about how you plan to serve alcohol safely?
Yeah. So alcohol safety, like so for also first thing, I already took the TIPS certification recently. So of course, more than 21-year-old person and check ID, this one and this one. Also, I got this. So all my, include me, all my workers, all my employees, check three of these together, and we'll figure out more than 21 or not. If under 21, just automatically get out from this my space, from my place. And also, so I want, I know like how to recognize this person is drunk. First thing is swaying and smell like alcohol, smell like liquor, and also movement slow and red eyes. That's how I can recognize drunk people.
Okay.
And also for how to check ID card or something more.
Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to present to us?
Anything else to present to you guys? Yeah, ID check 하라고요? 네. Yeah, so I'm going to check everybody, all customers. I'm going to check me and my workers. We're going to ID check. So if they have only allowed for ID, they have only license and military ID card and passport and government ID. And also I check with this one and everything I can do with it legally. And also like if I found, yeah, this is the college town. If I found a fake card or something, I'm going to take it and bring to the police office. So like so I'm sorry, my English is not perfect, but I know all kind of regulation, and I also have experience before I moved to America. I worked in liquor industry for 1 year, so I know how to do. Also, next door restaurant 10 years, so you can trust me for this part. And if you ask me anything, then I give an answer. And I'm so sorry about my language.
It's no problem. Okay, at this point, is there any questions from the board?
So one question for you, Mr. Lee. So you mentioned you'll have, I believe, 2 full-time and 2 part-time employees. You will have them all 4 tips trained?
직원들하고 다른 파트너나 출퇴근 다 필수라고 합니다.
Yes, everybody who work in the school district, they go to get TIPS certificate. If they don't have, then they cannot work with me.
Great. And seeing your hours of service, you'll be open, it looks like till 2 a.m. So do you have any plans for dealing with late night crowds, college students, those who may have already come from somewhere else and had a couple drinks, may not be intoxicated, but just may have already had a couple drinks?
조직들이 한다고 돼 있는데 그럼 이미 대학생들이 달려서 술 한 잔 사고 취하진 않았지만 한 잔 사고 오는 사람이 있는데 그런 사람들은 어떻게 대할 계획이 있어요?
그렇지. Yes. Also, I already said like if their look seems like drunk and attitude like drunk, like red eyes, slow movement, and smells very damn things, then if I considering all my works considering if they cannot walk, even they didn't buy anything, they cannot walk back to the house by safety, we can fare, then I provide them call Uber or Lyft to go to the home safety. This is what I can tell you. And also I saw some better situation before in my town. So I know how to do, so don't worry about that.
Okay. And it also says in your application here that you plan to hire door security during the weekends or any particular periods of being overcrowded. So you've identified someone to help you with that process.
Yeah.
신속적으로 도어세 결정을 두고 또 사회 많이 할 때는 이제 특별한 도어세 체크를 그렇게 있는데 그런 게 아이디어가 있는 겁니까?
다 돼 있는 거냐고요? 네. Yes, I'm planned everything about door guy. So just for regular night time, I'm planning to hire one door person, and weekend minimum is 2 door guy. And as you like, all of the bars on the here they already do. So I'm going to hire doorman and what is his name? The bouncer? Yes, bouncer. And of course, they're going to check 100% ID card too.
Thank you very much.
I did have one quick question. It looks like in your liquor license application in the questionnaire area, on question number 2, you put that you were going to be open from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. I think that might need to be a.m.
거기에 11 a.m.에서 2 p.m.인데 그게 잘못된 거 불시간을 가면
네. Already Mr. Jerome Lee sent a request email, whether some wrong typing from the city border. I requested the 2 a.m. until 11 a.m. until 2 a.m., not 2 p.m. It's common sense.
Okay, I just wanted to get some clarification on that. Thank you for that.
It is noted properly on the application form, Chair Califano.
Which page are you looking at?
Two 221. But you are correct. It's incorrect on the form.
Yeah, I saw 2 a.m. and 2 p.m., so I just wanted to get some clarification.
Absolutely. I have
go ahead. Go ahead.
Did you say you do have experience selling liquor before, or you do not?
Yes, I'm from South Korea. So before I opened my business in the border, in a little bit, 13 months, 12 months, I worked in the liquor supply restaurant in South Korea, in my hometown, named Busan. It's named Opera, it's standard, the real Opera House. They sell Korean and American food and liquor. So all very similar training and very same rule. So I know how to do already. And also, like restaurant I never get license, liquor license before, but I learned restaurant 10 years in same block. So I exactly know how to do. That's why I want to open.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
I have a follow-up question for that. Have you run a restaurant? You've got restaurant experience within the US, but have you run a restaurant that served alcohol in the US?
No, sir. This is my first time want to serve alcohol in the United States.
Okay, thank you for that. I think you did mention it too, that you were aware of this location, and you're right in the center of University Hill, that is primarily college students, many of which are underage. I just want to make sure that you're fully aware of, we're seeing a lot of fake IDs being used right now, so doing due diligence and looking for those, and not serving underage individuals.
Never. I never ever serve underage people. Don't know about that. I don't want to take a risk for that kind of some unsmart attitude. So everybody more than 21. And again, everybody have to pass this one and this one. This one.
Okay, I do just want to make sure that you're aware that you're in a very dense area that could be an issue with underage drinking.
사회 많은 곳인데 나이가 미성년자가 많은 곳인데 거기서 확실히 문제가 없도록 제가 확실하게 하고 싶습니다.
Yeah. 100%. I swear I'm not going to serve under 21. 그 말이죠.
Okay. And we do have a copy of your alcohol policy for your employees. Can you go into a little more detail about that? It's to be honest, it's kind of thin and lacking of some things that you could include in there. Are you familiar with the group RAR, Responsible Association of Retailers?
시청소에 접수한 알코올 팔았다고 해가지고 뭐 종업원 같은 거 썼으면 되는데 그거 보니까 저는 솔직히 좀 얇다. 내용이 충분히 많을 수도 있는데 좀 부족한 부분이 같다. 그 REI라는 거 혹시 아세요? 모릅니다. 하고 말할 거예요. REI는 뭐라고 REI 그 REI는 아시는지 그리고 알코올 팔았에 대해서 말씀해 주십시오.
모른다고요? 안다고요?
저한테 물어보지 말고 해야죠.
Yeah, actually, I don't know name is IRC.
He said REI.
The what is?
So did you say REI?
REI?
RAR, Responsible Association of Retailers.
RAI, Responsible Association, Retailer Association. 그거 하시냐고 그리고 알코올 팔러시 제출한 알코올 팔러시도 얘기해 주십시오.
네. So also like now I don't remember English names RAC. So I won't be honest. I won't say no, but immediately I go to find what is RAC and I go to study as soon as possible. So sorry, like now on this moment.
No worries.
I know.
So
I know RAC.
It's actually RAR. Caitlin, are you able to get him that contact information of Mr. Dewey?
Yes.
Okay.
I will send an email with that contact information in their website and stuff.
Thank you very much. I'm going to learn immediately.
So they are a group of established licensee holders and restaurants that gets together, I believe, every other month, and they discuss any issues with underage drinking, they're saying, or fake IDs. It's a really good group to be a member of, and they can help you really put together a more robust liquor license policy for your employees.
Thank you very much. I want to take the meeting. Of course, I have to do because also you said that area is a lot of underage people and a lot of college kids. So I take care of that 100%. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
I have a question. I believe that you will go above and beyond to reduce the chances of selling to a minor. How are you going to train your staff to do so as well? I can tell you're very passionate about it and you really care, but staff get tired. And so how do you plan on training them?
본인은 철저하게 잘 불과하게 정도로 보이는데 그러면 실제로 한 직원들을 어떻게 트레이닝할 겁니까?
Of course, I'm going to ask all my workers. I already have planned to have a minimum more than 2-year experience with the liquor sale. This is my plan. I know this area is hard to find experienced employee. but I know it'll be hard, but I'm planning to pay more, hire, honestly, like I'm going to hire the person more than minimum is 23 to 24. I'm not going to hire like a college kids or like even, and Colorado law is like the 18-year-old they can serve liquor. For me, not for me. I don't do that. Even 21, no, more than 23-year-old experience. And also like I'm going to give them the regulation book, how to check ID card and everything. And also my next door is the Fox Theater, the bouncer manager and his name is Site, and one of their manager, like his name is Derek. They're going to teach my new workers how to check ID card and if some emergency situation, everything. I know Fox Theater, they never ever made trouble before last 30 years, they told me. That this is what I can tell you. I'm really seriously care about the situation. Thank you.
Thank you. And just for the record, your English is great. It's the Wi-Fi is not good. So you're freezing a lot if it looks like we can't hear or understand you.
Great. Are there any other questions from the board? Not seeing any. Mr. Kim, is there anything else you wanted to present?
I'll do my best. And again, to you, I check ID card to everybody. This is what I can tell you. Thank you very much for today, your time. Thank you.
So, oh, go ahead, Mr. Haggerty. Mr. Haggerty, did you have anything? Don't think so. Roberto, I do have a quick question. We do have it in our packet that was submitted to us with the petitioning information. Is that enough? Are we okay? Do we need to hear from Ms. Johnson or?
Yeah, thank you. If the BLA is satisfied that you have received enough, both the written documentation and your questions are answered, and so it depends because you haven't deliberated, but you can certainly take a straw poll right now to determine if you all believe you have the necessary information to vote in the affirmative. If you don't, that means that you believe that there's still something lacking, and then you might want to hear additional information.
What does the board think?
So I am concerned with the alcohol policies form and the written documentation that we were provided today. I believe it's a great start, but it's also just a little bit light, especially for the location. And I would like to see something a little bit more built out. I'm just concerned again about that location and the area having such a high propensity of underage folks that are in that area.
I would agree with you on that. But that may be something we want to discuss when we close for deliberation. I think right now what we just want to take a quick poll from, do you think we have enough information for the petitioning packet in our packet? Or does the board want to hear from Ms. Johnson?
This is Member Haggerty. I think we could probably proceed without Ms. Johnson.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. I think the packet.
Ms. Johnson, you got off the hook.
Well, Eva is also online listening because she's going to do the next hearing because I have to get to a live hearing in Adams County. So if something would come up, there was no opposition to it. A lot of the people are familiar with his other restaurant that he had on the hill with did not have alcohol, but still as a person. We never go to the apartments or sorority houses, fraternity houses. We try to get as many of the adults as we could, but they're almost clear up the baseline right now. But we did have no opposition from any of the older people on the Hill as well. They were all in support. There was no one that seemed to be in opposition to this.
Well, thank you for that then.
Okay, and I'm going to sign off. Like I say, Eva is listening as well because we weren't sure of the time frame here. So appreciate you taking the time, and we'll see you again sometime. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Mr. Kim, if there's nothing else that you wanted to present, we will close for deliberations. Is there anything else? Just last chance.
Yeah, last chance, of course, you know, and everybody know what was happening again for previous business named Taco Junkie. And also, I know that the restaurant almost 10 years too. They opened in 2015, same year as I opened Squidgy Market restaurant next door. So I watched everything, kind of. So for everybody in the college town, never ever that happened in your location. And you're never hearing any bad things and any violent things that area. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you so much. At this point, we will close for deliberation. Is there a motion? Personally, Member Califano I would make a motion to continue this to November with a more robust alcohol policy, given that location. It is very concerning to me, and I just want to make sure it's being understood what they're getting into.
Could you give some examples of what you'd like to see with that? Or Roberto?
Just so that the record is clear, and is kind of going to what Member Roberts may be talking about. But is the concern when you say the location, do you mean the physical location because of who might be frequenting the location? Or do you mean the location because of the history of which restaurant bar was there? And just so that the record is really clear, I want to ensure that this applicant is not being overly scrutinized based on the behavior of past licensees. So if you mean the location because there's a bunch of kids and a bunch of underage drinking, totally fine. But I just want the record to be completely clear.
Yes, mine was based on location with demographic within the area, not any past history, as this is a new license, a new applicant as well. Part of that is the lack of alcohol service within the US, just because of, I'm not sure what the age limit is over the where he had previously mentioned for serving alcohol, but yeah, there was a concern just in the lack of experience in that area. But yeah, it's purely based on the demographic of the physical location.
I believe he said that the policies were the same where he was serving in, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that.
Mhm.
But yeah, in terms of the alcohol policy, you know, you want to see how to handle if you have an over intoxicated patron that comes in, or potentially, God forbid, becomes over intoxicated in your establishment, what you would do. Examples. I really think that Mr. Dewey would be able to help him come up with a more robust, full of example, multi-page policy that just is all encompassing. This one was pretty short, and I think that it needs to include some more.
Yeah, that kind of hits on where I was going with my question about how he plans on training, because there wasn't much for anyone to soak in. But I think your examples of handling situations is a really great place to be more knowledgeable on. And yeah, I would, oh, did you make it? Well,
I did make that motion.
I will, and the motion was to talk again in November, to,
Continue.
yeah, to continue until November. Yeah, I would second that motion to, so it's not a denial, it's just a continuance until November. Yeah, because I do think that he is a great person to have a liquor license. I like all the historical knowledge in the neighborhood. I think that that's really great, but yeah, something more robust with more definitions, more experiences of how to do something so that the knowledge transfer is not just stuck with him, but also with his employees.
All right, so we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Carr, aye.
Member Haggerty, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
All right, so Mr. Kim, what we've decided is that you will come before us in November, and we will we are requesting that you have a more robust and larger, more detailed, more specific alcohol policy. And the contacts that Caitlin will share with you, they can really help you to build that out.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. Kim, that email has already been sent, so it will be in your inbox. If you have any questions for me, feel free to just respond to that.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much.
Did the board have anything else for this matter?
I don't believe so, no.
And then Mr. Kim, again, feel free to reach out. I will send you some more information for the November hearing as well, okay? And I'm just gonna...
Very much.
Okay, I'm just making sure everyone is where they belong. Next we have agenda item 10, public hearing and consideration of an application filed on August 15th, 2024 from 1468 Pearl Street LLC, DBA Postino Wine Cafe, 1468 Pearl Street, number 110, Boulder, Colorado, 80302. Upward Project Holding LLC, sole member of Postino Holding LLC, 100% owner of 1468 Pearl Street LLC. Lauren Bailey, registered manager with a business mailing address of 1468 Pearl Street, number 110, Boulder, Colorado, 80302. For a change of class from a beer and wine to a hotel restaurant type liquor license. If you're here to speak on this matter, please go ahead and raise your hand. And I will promote you. Okay, I think Mr. Stonebreaker is just coming in here, hopefully. Go. And if you're here to speak on the matter, if you'll go ahead and turn your cameras on if possible. And Mr. Stonebreaker, are you the representing attorney for this licensee?
I am. I'm wondering if I can be heard.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Of course. Perfect. If you'll just record your appearance and then just let me know who will be giving testimony today so I can swear them in.
Certainly. My witness today is Ms. Molly Jacobs, testifies on behalf of the applicant. I'm wondering if she is on.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And we also have a witness from Liquor Pros, and I'm wondering if she's on.
Yes, Ms. Garrison is here as well.
Okay, thank you. For the record, my name is John Stonebreaker. I appear on behalf of the applicant today. My registration number is 9517. If Ms. Jacobs and a person from Liquor Pros is on, we are ready to go forward.
No problem. Ms. Jacobs, I'll start with you. If you'll just say your name and spell your name for the record and give an address.
You get a survey?
Yes.
Okay. My name's Molly Jacobs, Mollie Jacobs, and I live at 1699 North Downing Street, Denver, Colorado, 80218.
Thank you so much. And Ms. Garrison, same thing, say your name, spell your name, and give an address.
Thank you, Caitlin. Good afternoon, everyone. For the record, my name is Eva Garrettson, Garretson, one of the owners of Liquor Licensing Professionals, and we conducted the Needs and Desires survey for the applicant. And for the record, Caitlin, we did not post, the applicant did. So,
okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If you'll both raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the statements you're about to give in the matter before the Beverage Licensing Authority is true?
I do.
Thank you. And then Molly, do you swear or affirm that the premise has been posted for at least 10 days prior to today's hearing?
Yes, I do.
Thank you so much.
All right, and Mr. Stoneberger, since you're representing his counsel, I'd ask if you'd be willing to waive the reading of the procedures into the record.
We will be willing to waive. Thank you so much.
Great. And is there any ex parte communication or conflict of interest from any of the board members? Member Califano, no?
Member Carr, no.
Member Haggerty, no.
Member Roberts, no.
Right, and is there anyone in the attendees that wishes to speak to this agenda item? If you could please raise your hand. Not seeing anyone. All right, Mr. Stonebreaker, you may proceed.
Thank you. If I may, I'd like to call Ms. Eva Garrettson and note that she's been sworn in.
Please do.
Ms. Garrettson, will you state your name and occupation for the record, please?
Yes, sir. For the record, my name is Eva Garrettson. I am one of the owners of Liquor Licensing Professionals. We are a survey company conducting needs and desire survey for both liquor and marijuana for the state of Colorado.
All right. And if you would simply go ahead and describe what you do, how you do it, and the results that you found relative to this particular petition circulation effort, please.
Yes, sir. So prior to the start of the of the survey, our surveyors are briefed on the type of liquor license that is being applied for. In this case, we did review with the surveyor that this is an actual change of class to a hotel and restaurant type liquor license, so that they did understand that this now embodies, they are looking for a full liquor license, which includes not just beer and wine, but also spirits. So that was the first measure we did with that. We were provided with packets by the city clerk's office, both the business and residential, as well as the map. We went out on the dates of October 1st and October 2nd. We do ask those folks that are doing the surveys to remain unbiased in their approach to anyone who is there. We also are aware that we are in that Pearl Street area. We once again checked with all of the other hotel and restaurant liquor licenses in the area, letting them know of this change of class to also go to a hotel and restaurant liquor license, and then obtained samples in and around the site, but stayed within the boundaries from qualified signers, it being either a business owner, manager, or resident inside the area. We surveyed, made attempted contacts with 387 business owners, managers, and residents in the area, and obtained a total of 125 signatures. 60 were from business owners and managers, 58 signing in favor at 97%, 2 opposed at 3%. We then obtained a total of 65 residential signatures, 64 signing in favor at 98% to 1 opposed at 2%. Once again, we do ask those folks to write in why they are in favor or opposed to this license. Primarily right now, the focus is on the opposition. So if you go to page 2, the reasons for opposition signatures, 2 declined to provide us a reason. 1 did state that they had an issue with noise in the area, not wanting to clarify with us specifically if it was Postinos that was the noise or just noise in general. So unfortunately right now we on our second page, we did not qualify it because it was speculative. And so if we combine these totals, we had 124 signatures total, with 122 signing in favor at 98% and 2 opposed at 2%. However, if the licensing authority does choose to not take that in, it doesn't change the percentages at all, not by a whole lot. It's still 98% in approval and 2% opposed. Given the fact that there are several other licenses of similar type in this area, I believe the 98% still shows a positive need and desire for this license, and that the existing outlets have not yet met that need.
Ms. Garrettson, let me ask you, are these documents generated and circulated as a standard business practice by your organization?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and who's the custodian of these documents until they're turned into the city?
Myself. I am custodian of that, and then what we do is we save all documentation for a period of 3 years, and we do have a storage facility that is fireproof, weatherproof, element proof, and so we do keep those in a safe storage facility as well.
And these documents were pre-filed with the city as required by the city.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna move for the admission into evidence of the original report, the original petitions that were handed to the city, and I'll tender Ms. Garrettson for any examination by any member of the authority, perhaps the city attorney.
Yes, we do have the petition materials in our packets, our hearing packets for this month. Is there any questions for Ms. Garrettson from the board? Not seeing any. All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Garrettson.
Thank you, Chair Califano, for letting Ms. Carroll go. We were spread a little thin with the hearings this evening, so thank you for that. I do appreciate that.
No worries.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask if the documents are admitted into evidence.
Yes, they are a part of our hearing packet, which we have reviewed.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to also ask that Ms. Garrettson be completely excused from the presence of the authority at this time.
Yes, that's fine.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stonebreaker.
If I may, I'd like to call Ms. Molly Jacobs. I will note for the record that she's been previously sworn in.
Please do.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Jacobs, are you on?
I am, yes.
Okay, thank you. And ma'am, would you be kind enough to state your name, spell your last name for the record, please?
Yeah, my name's Molly Jacobs, last name Jacobs.
Okay, and how are you connected with this particular license application?
Yes, I'm the area director for the state of Colorado
Okay,
for
thank you.
Upward Projects.
And how long have you been the area director?
About 2 months now, but I've been with the company as a GM for over 4 years.
Okay, and where were you a GM?
It was the GM of Postino Lohi out in Denver.
Okay, thank you. And has any restaurant that was under your supervision or of which you were the GM ever had a licensing violation?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. The company had some violations were at about 8 years ago in the city and county of Denver. Are you aware of any violations since then?
No, not since then, not since I've worked with the company.
All right, thank you. Your company has other restaurants in the state of Colorado?
Yes, we have 5. We have 3 in Denver and then 1 in Boulder and 1 in Highlands Ranch.
Okay, thank you. And directing your attention to the Boulder location, does that location have a lease?
It does, yep.
And the lease has been filed with the city?
I believe so, yes.
All right. If you could briefly describe for the record what a Postino restaurant in the city of Boulder looks like, the concept and how it functions.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a full restaurant. We do about 60% of sales just in food. The rest is in beer and wine. We're right on the corner of Pearl Street. We're more family, kind of like a family fun place. We allow kids in here. It's more of a dining experience, hospitality, but we're a full service restaurant.
Thank you. What I would like to know is, are there any requests for spirits as opposed to beer and wine at the location in Boulder?
Yes, we get a lot of requests. We also have a lot of guests that come in and they ask for liquor, and then when we say no, they're like, okay, no problem, we'll go somewhere else. So we do get quite a bit of those people that come in here. Unfortunately, we lose business out of it, so that's why we are asking for a liquor license for a full one.
And is this a statewide initiative?
It is. So Boulder is actually the last restaurant in our group in Colorado to apply to get this license. All the other ones have already passed, and we will be rolling out liquor for our other 2 restaurants on the 21st.
Thank you. Anybody in the neighborhood that is aware of the request that you're making of the city to change the class of license express anything negative to you?
Not to me personally. I haven't had any negative comments about it in store that I've overheard. So the answer would be no.
All right, thank you. What are your hours of operation at the Boulder location?
We are open from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. on weekdays, and then on weekends. So, well, I would say Friday, Saturday, we're open from 11 to 12 a.m. and then Sunday 10 to 10 p.m. So full 12 hours most days.
Thank you. And there's a patio at your location on Pearl Street?
Yep, we have a patio.
And describe the supervision and the steps that your company takes to make sure that the alcohol that's served on the patio stays on the patio.
So we have 2 signs at our gates that say no alcohol beyond this point. Our servers are trained to not leave any corks on tables, so that when guests want to leave with their bottle, we have to recork it for them and put it in a brown bag with a liquor seal on it. We also have a very good trained eye, so if anybody tries to escape us, that typically never happens, but if it does, we just let the guests know, hey, let me cork that for you so you can take it. But our team is very aware of the alcohol standards in our building.
Would you describe, please, the training that we put our employees through at this particular location in Boulder? Describe the training programs and how they function, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So all of our team members are required to have tip certification for Boulder. And then we also do have a training module. So when they do their onboarding training, it's their first 7 days. They'll actually take this module going through how to identify an ID, what that looks like, proper steps, when to get a manager involved. Part of our training is also letting a manager know anytime somebody has had 4 or more drinks, things of that nature, just to make sure that we're being safe. No one's driving home or walking, because we want to make sure that our guests leave you're safe, right? So that's the steps that we take.
So to summarize, you have both inside or in-house training as well as outside TIP certification that is provided by an outside vendor.
Yes, correct.
And the TIP certification has an expiration on it. How do you work with your employees if they're coming up on their expiration dates?
So all of their TIP certifications gets sent into our Paylocity program, and it alerts us when things are becoming expired. We also track it with an Excel sheet. So we check that once a month to make sure that everybody is within that expiration or not expiring. But we keep very close tabs on that tips.
So part of your procedures and training is the in-house monitoring to make sure that everyone's training and certification is current.
Correct. Yep.
Thank you. Does your company have a policy relative to vertical IDs?
We don't have a policy per se for the whole company, but here at the store, we do not accept vertical IDs. We are in Boulder. It is, a college town. There's a lot of fake IDs out there. So just to be safe and sorry, we don't accept them here because we are in this type of environment.
What percentage of sales do you anticipate will be in food as opposed to alcoholic beverage in the event the city sees fit to grant this change in license application?
So currently we see about 60% of food and sales, between 60 and 65% of sales and food and sales, I should say. And that's pretty standard each period, each month for us. We dish out a lot of food. It's awesome.
Okay. Thank you very much. You do have off-premises sales under your takeout and delivery permit?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. And how do those types of sales work?
Yeah, so it's just wine to go. We only are allowed to sell 2 bottles of wine per transaction per individual under the state law. So that's the only to go alcohol we do. We don't do alcohol. We don't do beer to go or any thing like that.
And you follow through on your procedures and especially ID requirements for the off-premises sales the same way that you would up for an on-premises sale.
Yes, correct. So if they ever call in an order and they want to get a bottle of wine to go, let's say, we put all of our to go bags and wine behind the bar, and when they come and pick up, they're required to show their ID. So it's a very systematic way. We're not letting anybody walk out of here if they have not been ID'd.
Thank you. And in the event that this particular license application was granted by the city, you understand your obligation to serve meals at all times and in all places that you serve alcoholic beverage.
Absolutely.
All right. And is that actually the way that you conduct business today?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Ma'am, I want to ask you if it's your personal desire that this application be granted by the city of Boulder.
Yes, absolutely. I would love to see this business succeed in that way.
Okay. And again, really the reason your company is doing this is to respond to consumer requests for spirituous liquors.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I don't have any further questions of this witness, and I'm going to see if there's any member of the authority or the city attorney has any questions for this witness.
Are there any questions from the board for Ms. Jacobs? Not seeing any. Yeah, is there anything else you'd like to present, Mr. Stonebreaker?
Sir, there is not. The applicant will rest at this time. We would citing the evidence from Liquor Pros that is, in my view, conclusive on need and the testimony of the witness. We would like to respectfully request that the application for change in class of license be granted by the city.
All right, thank you for that. At this point, we will close for deliberation. Is there a motion?
Member Carr will make a motion to approve the change.
Member Roberts will second the motion to approve the change.
All in favor, say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Carr, aye.
Member Haggerty, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
All right, changing class of license has been approved.
Mr. Chairman, members of the authority, we want to appreciate and say thank you for your time and attention this afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just gonna change some roles here. Okay. All right. Next, we have agenda item 11, matters from Deputy City Attorney.
Good evening, everyone. Nothing from me. I hope you're having a good night.
Thank you, Roberto. Next, we have agenda item 12, matters from licensing clerk. We have one boundary setting. It is for Shreddy's Tacos, Boulder LLC, DBA Shreddy's Tacos at 2690 Baseline Road, Boulder, Colorado, 80305 for a new hotel restaurant type liquor license. I will share my screen and show you the map here. I don't have any suggested boundaries for you for this one. The closest location was set in the 90s, and I don't know if we could really find what those were in the 90s. And then the next closest location was set in 2020 when we were doing COVID procedures for boundary setting. So it was just the mile radius. So there's no suggested boundaries. So
Could you zoom out?
yes.
I think, what would make sense to me, just kind of looking at this, would be, maybe like Colorado to the north, city limits to the west, foothills to the east, and then I don't know, what do y'all think about the south?
What did you say to the west? I'm sorry.
City limits.
Do we want to go as far as Table Mesa on the south? There's really not much residential in that area left of, or west, excuse me, of 93 south of Baseline.
So Table Mesa makes sense to me for the south. Yeah.
All right, Member Califano, was that a motion?
It was yes, Member Carl make motion for Colorado to the north, St. Louis to the west, foothills to the east, and Table Mesa to the south.
Member Califano would second. All in favor, say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Carr, aye.
Member Haggerty, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
Thank you so much. And I just want to confirm that is Colorado on the north, Table Mesa on the south, foothills on the east, and city limits on the west.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. We have no transfers to report for October. I do know we will have a couple in November for you for that one. There was no breweries, wineries, or distillery requests. There you have your special event permit list in there and your liquor renewals list. And there is no further matters from the licensing clerk this month. I will move on to agenda item 13, which is matters from chair and members of the authority. There was 2 items scheduled for this. The second one was member Absalom and Carr have a presentation. Member Carr has requested that we postpone that presentation until next hearing so that member Absalom can participate in that. I wasn't sure if you wanted to also postpone the ID scanner discussion or if you wanted to have that now.
So I did speak with member Absalom, and I did tell him that I was going to make that same recommendation as member Carr, just because he does have such experience in the industry. I think he's kind of a vital element in both discussions. I know we keep pushing this off, but I would request that he be present for those discussions. I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
I agree with Chair Califano. Member Absalom is very important to this discussion.
Not that you're not member Carr for the presentation.
We would postpone it if you were absent too.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. We've both had good conversations, and we've been his voice needs to be heard in this, especially in the matter of the public comment.
All right, so if we could move those to November, that would be great.
No problem at all. I will have them on the November hearing in the same spot as this one. I'm so sorry. I did have one matter to bring up, and that is that the December hearing, so just so that you can plan for around your holidays, the November hearing is November 20th, which is the week before Thanksgiving. If you had conflicts, and then the December hearing is December 18th, which is exactly 1 week before Christmas. If anyone has any conflicts or wanted to discuss a change in those dates or anything like that, we will likely have another change of class application to be heard in December. It will be on boundary setting next month, so. If no discussion is necessary, that's totally fine as well, just letting you know.
Sorry, having issues getting back to the Zoom screen. Is there any issues with any of the board members? And we can check with member Absalom for December next month, I think.
Not to work for me.
All right, I think we're good.
Great. And that's it for me.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second that motion.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Carr, aye.
Member Haggerty, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
We are
Perfect.
adjourned at 5:21 p.m.
Thank you, guys. Bye.